Going live? Yeah, yeah. So what? It's your boy Bitz and Bobz. Yes, people. Episode 35. The weather's been horrible. Bank holiday. Ain't sun ain't been shining. But listen, check this out. Tuesday afternoon, I'm about to brighten up your day. I am joined by a gentleman who I can give so many names of introductory, but to me, I've just basically told him that he's one of my mentors, and I love hearing him speak. So today, I welcome to you Troy Townsend. Troy, how are you?
Wow. I'll tell you what, I'm not sure I've had an opening like that in a very, very long time. So I'm going to embrace that and I'll keep that. I'm good. I'm good. We've had the weather down here over the bank holiday, not boiling hot, but we've had sunshine, which is the most important thing, I think. But yeah, absolute pleasure to be involved. And hopefully it'll be a good period of time that we continue to talk.
100%. And do you know what, Troy? As I was saying off air, I'm very, very grateful. Not only just to be able to speak to you, right? To be able to actually listen to hear you talk. I follow you on LinkedIn. I follow you on social media. I feel like I said to you, I wish I had yourself when I was younger playing football in Scotland. Because I think to myself, when I look in Scotland now, we don't have that many black players. And I have Marvin Bartley. He's the captain of Livingston. And he's big bro. Like, I speak to him all the time. And I said to him, I was like, I actually support the club you play for. I don't support the club. I support you. And he was just like, oh, and I explained to him my situation when I was growing up and stuff. So yeah, but today's about you. Okay. So we have to ask, okay, it's obviously fresh on the news. Jose Mourinho has just been appointed.
It's a good way to start, to be fair.
Yeah. He's big up to Matthew Brown. Thank you, Conrad. If you're in the cut, please smash a like. So Jose Mourinho gets another job. I'm not shocked. Are you?
Oh, absolutely not. I'm a bit surprised at the timing. So he kind of indicated when Sky were interviewing him outside his house. I don't know if you saw that piece. That he wasn't going to be out for too long. So you can't keep a good man down, is what I say. And regardless of what Spurs fans have said, Man United fans have said, this man is a serial winner. He gets teams to where they need to be. 100%. Man United are raving at the moment about their team. Well, Jose Mourinho was the last person to bring trophies into that club.
Facts,
and it amazes me how disrespectful sometimes people can be in regards to someone who has a trophy cabinet in the way that he has, and also turns around mentality.
Which is a key word, though, isn't it? The mentality one.
Exactly. And let's be honest, Spurs got rid of him the week of a cup final.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's many, obviously, things that people have said about that. Is it because they feared him winning the cup final and bringing them that mentality of getting over the line, to a Spurs squad that has never done it before? They've never got over the line before. And I'm just kind of like, I like the man. I like the way that he speaks. Listen, there is times when I think to myself, Jose, man, get on the front foot. Do you know what I mean? Get your team, but he has all style and a play. And if we were all the same, how boring football would be. So he has a winning mentality. He has a style. He has a way of setting up. And listen, 8 times out of 10, it gets him results. And results is when he presents that trophy back into the football club and says, here's what you brought me to the club for.
Exactly. And do you know what? Like, I'm a football fan. I'm a Man United fan, right? And I just think I love Jose because I think Jose is what you see, what you get. You are aware there's going to be the media circus. There's going to be the punchlines, the UK gold commentary. We know that. We know the football. What I would say, Troy, to that, people expect everyone to play like Klopp and Pep.
Yeah.
It's not possible. So it's not possible. And for me, I just thought, Tottenham, you've got a manager now who's actually bigger than you as a club, and all respect. And I just think he got you to a cup final. Now, there's stories saying that if he had won it, they would have to pay more money. I don't know the ins and outs and stuff, but all I see is that you sacked a manager and you lost the cup final. And the manager you sacked has now went on to another big club and been hired.
I listen, no one knows what goes on behind the scenes, and that's one thing. It's all You know, we're all speculating here. But like I said to you, to sack a manager in the week that he's preparing his team for a cup final, and then when you see the way that that cup final went, let's be serious, it was one-way traffic. You know, Man City turned up, and I think Man City almost had pity on Spurs, you know, and they turned up and they just did enough. And you know what? There's bigger fish to fry, but they claimed the trophy. Spurs were nowhere near that Man City side. And there's many people saying, well, Spurs actually played like a Jose Mourinho side. Well, they never, because Jose Mourinho would have managed that situation a lot better. Now, this is no slight on Ryan Mason, by the way. This is not about Ryan Mason and, you know, the people that have taken over at Spurs. But I just felt it was a massive amount of disrespect to Jose, considering that he had got them into that cup final. There was the potential of reaching their, you know, winning their first trophy since, you know, I don't know, since, well, we all see the cabinet, don't we? The cabinet with nothing in it, you know, and it's just, I just found it crazy timing. But listen, you can't keep a good man down, as they say, and there you go.
100%.
Jose's back. Yeah.
He's back now, you know what I mean? And I dare say there might be an even more interesting Serie A now.
He will upset a few for sure. Yeah, he will definitely upset a few. I'm quite sure already they're all going, God, Jose's here. Do you know what I mean? They'll all be planning for next season. Inter have now won the title, you know, so they're done and dusted. But Conte will definitely be going, I've got to pit my wits against Jose now. That's a different mentality altogether.
Exactly. And do you know, good luck to him. I'm glad he got a new job, because I thought to myself, you know, I'm 31 years old, Troy, and I grew up on his style of football.
Yeah.
I saw him win, you know, win. That's the only part that's important. No one, it doesn't, on the trophy, it doesn't say you played 21 passes to score a goal. It just says the club's name, you know.
Win.
I've got to ask you, you know, I already saw your opinions on the Super League, the European Super League, and, you know, the protests and stuff. But I haven't actually asked you directly, because I've seen on social media, right? And social media is saying you have the right to protest in this country. And then I thought to myself, okay. We have the right to protest. Okay. I thought to myself, interesting. So as I do, I take notes, you know, and obviously I go back in archives and look at what social media was saying, you know, around the George Floyd, the BLM protest. I was getting coronavirus, second wave, we're being selfish, all of this, all of that. And I thought to myself, hang on, I said to my wife, we're fighting for human rights. This is just a business that are trying to evolve. Now, initially, what is your thoughts on the idea of the European Super League?
So just the idea. People are going on like they didn't realise this was going to happen. We've been speaking European Super League for the longest period of time. We've also been speaking the breakaway from the possible Premier League breakaway with the Big Six, Project Big Six. That was last year. They were talking about that. The only reason why people are shocked is that the Super League, the Big Six, have caught them out. So all of a sudden, 1 minute they're saying, "Oh yeah, there seems like there could be a European Super League." By the evening, bam, it was in place. And when it comes down to money, you can protest, you can argue, you can, you know, disagree, you can present another case, you can go legal, you can do all of these different things.
Yep.
Because someone's pocket is going to be impacted. And that 100%. Just shows you where we are in this industry. And I'm not talking about the fans. I'm not talking about the good people that work diligently in their job roles. I'm talking about the bigger picture. The bigger picture is always around the bigger clubs. As much as what they say, yeah, you know, we'll look after those down the bottom. They're not really interested in those down the bottom. They're not interested in, and you've got to admit this, even the broadcasters are not. If you think about Sky Sports, you think about BT, you think about big broadcasters in England, they're only worried about what happens at Man United, Liverpool, in some instance, Chelsea, Man City, without doubt, Spurs, apparently a Big Six, Arsenal, apparently a Big Six. So the whole Super League thing caught them on the hop. But I've got to say this, Bob, the energy in the 48 hours, 72 hours afterwards, I just sat back. I don't think I commented. I just sat back and thought, oh, okay, okay. This is what people can do now when they're angry,
Mhm.
when they're upset, when they believe that their rights have been impeded on. This is what people can do now. And I just sat back and watched it all play out. The coverage that it got was unbelievable, which just shows you again that the color of our skin, and I'll bring it up straight away, cannot
Mhm.
match the financial kind of weight of football clubs, of institutions. The color of our skin is way down the pecking order, but you impact a man's money, wow, all hell will break loose.
Yeah, and do you know what? I'm glad you said that. That's where I was going with the segue. It's a nice segue. Um, I think that's why I was just like, okay. Glenn Kamara?
Yeah.
Obviously, we know what happened to him. UEFA took their time, but I was just so interested in the way FIFA and UEFA clapped back so quickly. It was like, wow. So you guys actually can, you see what's happening,
Mm,
but you opted to just take 3 weeks and you see with that. I think, do you know what, Troy? I think we both know, and people that are listening and people that watch this back, I think we know what's more priority in the UK, in Europe, in the world. Money talks, as they say. And if your pockets are about to be emptied or be affected, people will riot or
yeah.
protest, as we saw. And I just thought to myself, this is sad in the sense that for something that's way more important about life, because let's be honest, these football clubs could be liquidated, whatever, go into administration, they could die, whatever, but we're still here.
Mm,
Society is still here. And I
mm,
just think how sad it is that when we talk about a community, a race, racism, discrimination, all forms of discrimination, sexism and stuff, it doesn't get the same energy. Now, I looked on social media, Troy. I seen all the big YouTube accounts, all the big guys saying this is wrong with football. Football players are coming out, and I'm thinking, if I was a black football player, I'm thinking, so when I was racially abused, or a colleague of mine was racially abused, Sky Sports were okay to do their little ads, do the things on the t-shirts and stuff. But why are we not rocking mountains, Troy? Why does it not move mountains? Why does it not earthquake an
yeah.
office in UEFA and
Yeah.
stuff? Because it does make me sad. Look, I've talked about the protests, why am I United fans and so on. I get that, right? But for me, in my household, I have a different energy because I'm thinking Manchester United, what they do with their club doesn't affect me in any way. Let's get that clear. And people
Mm,
might say, oh, you're not a real football fan. I don't care. The way I
mm,
see it is this: Man United don't pay my bills. Man United don't walk to the street with me when I'm with my wife and my son. When I'm getting racial abuse, Man United ain't backing me. So the way I see it is that this is my life. Now I just can't help think that something as poisonous as racism ain't getting the same energy. And I ask myself why. I know why. But Troy, I know you've said this before, but why is that?
the industry doesn't like to be challenged. The industry doesn't like to hear the voice of someone who is talking on behalf of so many.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tired of working in this space and seeing the amount of energy that is around other things, not just recently the Euro Super League. There's so many other things that seem to get more energy. But yet, when we talk about racism, when we talk about the experiences, the trauma that individuals and groups of people have to go through, there's always a legal reason why it cannot be said, cannot be identified, or where you cannot, take the conversation on further. And I
Mm-hmm.
always say to people, the color of my skin is not a legal reason. Yeah, it's a fact. It's not a
Yes.
debate. Don't debate the color of my skin. Don't debate the impact of someone calling me, as they did to Kamara, an F monkey. Do you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? In the most sly way that you could possibly do that. You know, don't then defend that person because apparently Glenn Kamara waited for him in the tunnel area. Do you know what I mean?
There's always an
Don't.
excuse, Troy. Always
There's
an excuse.
always an excuse, and that excuse comes from people in the industry. That excuse comes from the media. That excuse comes from governing bodies. That excuse comes from all around the game. So there were some very prominent and good ex-black players who were making noise about this energy needs to remain. Nothing against the fans, brilliant. But look how collective football came together to then, 48 hours later, condemn the Super League and almost tear it down. Do you know what I mean? But then I want to talk about our government as well, and then the authorities. Our government, under the PM that we have here in England, spoke about changing legislation immediately in one of his first sentences. Hold on, we've been knocking on the door for changes of legislation in regards to racism and how it's dealt with for the longest period of time.
Yeah.
UEFA started talking about, right, we can chuck clubs out of competition, we can stop players playing for their international teams. And I'm thinking to myself, every time I say that, right, there needs to be expulsions, there needs to be the harshest possible bans, and individuals need to be, can't happen, can't do things like that. So it can happen when it suits, and it can't happen when actually we're not going to penalise them that much. Do you know what I mean? We'll close half a stadium and we'll let the fans that are normally in that stadium go into another area of the stadium so that they can racially abuse from there. It's crazy, Bob. It's crazy. And we are in 2021 and we're still talking about when are we ever going to deal with racism properly and effectively so that any individual can go about their work without fear. So at the moment, football's getting away with quite a lot because social media, is taking all the glory as such, let's have a go at the social media companies. But we still got problems, as the Glenn Kamara incident will tell you, as a sacking only yesterday from Notts County, from Maurice Ross tells you, although there's not been a lot of conversation about that yet, but it's to do with the color of a comment around the color of someone's skin, a player on his team. He's only just arrived at that football club. So we still have those issues. So let's not ignore them and let's start seeing the same kind of language that is being spoken when it comes to finance being spoken in the same way when it comes to the color. We're talking about racism at the moment. I will say all forms of discrimination, but let's. It seems like there's a lot of energy elsewhere. Let's talk about racism based on the color of someone's skin and how we have never effectively dealt with it in football. I'm not just saying this country, in football.
Yeah.
Because for Glenn Kamara, for Cadella to receive a 10-match ban, which he's appealing, by the way, and getting all the support from his football club, by the way, and yet Kamara receives a 3-match ban and then has been constantly racially abused every single day after that incident on social media. It's scandalous.
It's
scandalous.
It's not scandalous. I hate to use this word. It's reality, Troy.
Scandalous reality, then.
Yeah.
Scandalous reality. But you're right. Yeah. It is. It's reality. And the thing is, we all go into it knowing the reality. We all walk in knowing the reality. I've been working in this space for 10 years. Nothing ain't changed in 10 years. I've been coaching beyond that. So I've been in part of football for 30 plus years. Older than you, Bobby. I'm sorry. Yeah, older than you. And I've seen this on a regular occurrence. Professional game, grassroots game, within various circles, right across the board. Nothing ain't changing for now.
And do you know what? Like you talk about being in the game, and like I said it earlier, that's why I appreciate. You're not just a pundit here, where it's just like you've just been a fan of football. You've been involved in football. Your family's involved in football. Your son's a footballer. You are about this life. You're involved in Kick It Out, and that's what I kind of wanted to touch on. Kick It Out, okay. Has Kick It Out been a success so far?
I always say that there is no success when it comes to racism and discrimination. That there is. How do you quantify success? So I don't like the term success, but I understand why you ask it. It was asked of me yesterday, success of the social media boycott. Kick It Out, a small charity that has, I don't know, I think we've got 15 members of staff now that covers the professional game, the non-league game, the grassroots game, the boardroom side of the game, the education part of the game. We punch above our weight on a regular occurrence. We support players. We could support players a lot more.
Yep.
We provide education within the environment. And I think that in England, we've got the best education system around football. And that's not just through Kick It Out, that's through various other organizations as well. But every single person that continues to be discriminated against because of a particular characteristic in football will mean that there is no success in this industry. There is no let's pat each other on the back. We don't do things like that. We don't pat on the backs. Others may be because they feel that they're talking in this space now. We've been here for 28 years, and the 28 years we've been here, football tries to sweep a lot under the carpet. You know, our chair, Lord Herman Ousley. You know, there's never been a better man in the fight for racism and discrimination. And unfortunately, he's no longer with us because he didn't care who you were. He would challenge you. He would take you on and he would challenge you because of that right to be able to protect people that looked like him, sounded like him. You know, Kick It Out came into prominence because of the murder of Stephen Lawrence. Just think about that. We came into prominence because of the murder of Stephen Lawrence. And it was because of Lord Ousley, why he felt that something else needed to be done, not just in regards to racial equality in society, but in football. So there'll be many that will criticize us, and we'll have to take the criticism on the chin, whatever that may be. And there's many that will actually say, well, actually Kick It Out supported me very, very well. So I don't class success until we eradicate discrimination. We're never going to eradicate discrimination. So we have to keep going on this journey. And those that want to criticize, I always say, be part of the journey. Come and help us. Actually, let me tell you what my day-to-day is like. Let me tell you some of the pretty horrendous stuff that I witness, that I see. And then tell me that actually you're going to criticize us based on what? But criticism is all part and parcel of football. It's part and parcel of the game. And because we are put in there as this organization that's born to eradicate, now Kick It Out, they're going to... But now look at it. We've got Kick It Out. We've got no room for racism. We've got today, not today, not any day. We've got say no to racism. We've got show race in the red card. We've got all of a sudden now, out of nowhere, 6, 7, 8 messages. When I'm saying to myself, why couldn't they all just have come under our banner and made us a lot stronger? Because we were the first organization that was battling in this space. You know, so rather than have all these spin-offs, come under the same banner. Let's challenge and battle and fight this together. Let's have one voice. Even down to the social media boycott over the weekend. All of a sudden now, broadcasters are creating their own hashtags and platforms. And that says to me that we've never really been as a collective, have we? We've never had a collective voice around racism and discrimination. And we continue to, it's almost everyone's making it about them. And I don't want these stories about anyone else apart from the people that have been victimized. But the problem is when you're victimized in football, you're victimized again because of the process.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden you then think, well, what's the point of me going through that? Because no one's here to look after me or protect me. So it's a long-winded answer. I know it's a long-winded answer, Bobby, but it's the kind of answer that I would always give anywhere, to be totally honest.
I'm glad you answered it because for me, it's the progress that has been, the awareness you've been able to make out and the positions and the people you've been able to help, you know, and those are the stories that are untold. They just see Kick It Out and they're like, oh yeah, another charity. No, like do your research, you know, go and read about these people.
It's funny you said that because I said that to Gary Neville. I'm not trying to quote big names here, but
sorry, I'm going to quote you, so it's okay.
But Gary Neville said, oh yeah, you know, we got thrown a t-shirt once a season and we had to put it on and, you know, then we took it off and we threw it in the middle. So I said to Gary Neville, in your change room that had players that had been racially abused, by the way, that you never supported, when someone was throwing you that t-shirt, what questions did you ask? You know, when you looked on the front and saw Kick It Out, did you do your own homework? You know, so stop making this about the small charity. Make this about yourself. What conversations were had in your changing room? What did you turn to one of the black players and say, is this organization working for you? Anything. Do you know what I mean? Don't just put it on and then when it's time to take it off, throw it back in the middle for it to be washed, for it to be given away. Because wanting to support people that have been discriminated against, racially abused, becoming this ally, the onus is on the individual. So Gary Neville is an ally now. But when he was playing, what was he doing? You know, so I always throw it back on people.
I wanted to bring up Gary Neville. I know I didn't send you an agenda or anything because Troy, I've
That
heard you
don't matter.
talk, and I know that it's a conversation that things may come up and so on. Gary Neville, I watch a podcast called, I'm going to plug it, Stoppage Time TV. Shout out to
Big
Malwa.
guys, big
Yeah,
guys,
yeah.
big guys.
And for me, I watch them weekly, and Coach Akams, he said something that I was thinking, and I say it to my wife. Gary Neville said something, right? That was so. He said, "I've remained quiet," and for me, that's all I heard.
Yeah.
For some time now, for me, that's all I heard. So you are aware, you are socially aware. You go on social media, you see what happens. You are in the changing rooms, you see what happens. Why did you not back Raheem Sterling? Why did you keep quiet then? So I've done my own little bit of research. Gary Neville's got a football club who would be affected. He has projects that would be effective if the big six were to go. So obviously now it's affecting him. So now he's concerned. And look, you can give the Pioneer chat on Sky Sports and all of that. And listen, Sky Sports know what they're doing, giving these guys airtime when they say their Winston Churchill speeches, which is cool. Okay, I agree with what he's saying, yeah. But Gary, you played with how many black players in your career? Did you even give an ounce of that energy towards them? When Rio Ferdinand missed the drug test, he said we should strike. Okay, but Raheem Sterling, when you were part of the coaching staff, you remained silent, and you were conscious about that.
Bobby, for me, this goes back way beyond then. This goes back to a period of time when every player that was targeted because of the color of their skin had to deal with situations by themselves.
Yes.
They would go back in their changing rooms. They never felt confident about sharing those experiences, or they would never ask questions. And that's not just the playing staff. That's the coaching staff. That's above. That's the boardrooms. Until the point where in this country, in the 90s, I'm sorry, I'm taking you back, but
it's okay.
People felt that racism didn't exist. Remember, the Premier League came in 1993. There was all this big glamour, this new product, this new, look at this, look how glamorous it is. And our club is going to be part of those. Racism doesn't exist no more because it didn't matter, because now the real money was coming in. Yeah. Yes. All of a sudden, Sky Sports came in. Football Now was a product that was going to bam, 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 cash, cash, cash. They didn't care about the experiences of the black player.
No.
They were more worried about making sure that the product would sell globally. But the black player was important in that, because they wanted to show on the screen that they were embracing black players more and more and more. So all of a sudden now, yes, the rise of the black player, the Coles, the Yorks, the Ferdinands, you know what I mean? And Les, Rio, all those players, Brian Deans, whatever. I say Brian Dean because of the goal that he scored, the first Premier League goal. And you say that and you think to yourself, all of a sudden now, black players are no longer a minority. We're an integral part of the development of all of these football clubs, yeah?
100%.
But what that integral part means, that actually there's more players to target. There's more players you can have a go at. So if that player doesn't do what you think he should do, or he scores against your football club, bam. There was no social media then to do it, but you could do it in the stadiums. England went to Spain, and Sean Wright Phillips, Ashley Coles, they were racially abused out in Spain, monkey chants and all that. Yeah, early. And I'm thinking to myself, it still wasn't a massive topic of conversation. So everyone's to blame right about now. People will say, oh, that organised that, that little charity down there. Yeah, the little one with that. Yeah, they're to blame. But no, I'll take some blame. But why about everyone else put their hand up and say, do you know what? But we're just as culpable. We don't promote the noise. And let's think about, I'm sorry, Bobby, but let's think about this. 2018, North London Derby. I say this on every podcast I go on, right? Someone threw a banana on the football pitch, in London.
Yeah, I know.
So when John Barnes was racially abused back in 1988 at Goodison Park, they called it racism in regards to that banana, monkey, black player. In 2018, this is the growth of football in this country. In 2018, it was deemed as a missile. Don't talk about it being racist because there's legal. That banana is not that's not legal. That banana has how many hundreds of years of history in regards to the color of our skin.
Skin, yeah.
But if you look at the front pages, the back pages, yeah, a missile thrown on the football pitch at Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. No. It's racism. And I remember holding an event 6 months later, and someone from the media said, Troy, there's a legal reason why they can't call that banana racism. So hold on. You're telling me that a banana that someone's throwing at me, not me personally, but there are people, so it's us, is deemed as a missile. Like when a coin is not acceptable and a bottle is not acceptable. But a coin and a bottle, unless it hits you, doesn't really, it's one of them where you go, all right, mate, yeah, cheers for the 50p. We're talking about a banana. And in this country, we're gonna give it energy by saying, oh, it's nothing to do with race. I don't know what that lot are talking about. It's a banana. Man ain't gonna throw that at you on the street.
Nope.
Because man know what's gonna happen next.
What happened to them? I mean? Yeah, right. 100%.
But yet we're gonna protect the perpetrator. We always do this. We protect the perpetrators. We give them that kind of protection, and people say, "Yeah, but you got a 4-year banning order," but he's a racist. Full stop. At that moment that he threw the banana, it's an act of racism, and the industry failed to call it out for what it was. Simple as that. So when people say, "Oh, we've made great strides," I say, "Well, really? We're better educated, we have better understanding, but we make excuses, and there's always excuses when it comes to racism."
Troy, I agree with you, and I say this, Troy. I'm very happy to post that I'm the first black leader of my employer, and it's interesting the conversations I initially had, on the back of George Floyd, may rest in peace. I asked these certain questions, the HR, the whole accountability was like, yeah, actually, you know what, you're right. We're backwards, we're 25, 30 years behind, and I've started this BAME network. I hate the word BAME, but do you know what? That's how they know us. Yeah, I know. But that's how they know us, so it's fine. The name's not important. It's all about the message.
But I make you wrong. I make you wrong, Bobby, if you don't mind. Okay. And I don't want us to get no big thing here.
No.
I ain't BAME. I'm a black man who has experiences because I'm a black man. My Asian partner, if I want to understand it from their perspective, I'm going to call them Asian. And then all the different aspects of it, British Asian, South Asian, I want to understand that. I don't want someone to group us all together and call us a term because they believe it's acceptable.
Yeah.
I'm not Kunti Kinti. Them days are done. I don't have to listen to what someone wants to call me because it makes it easy for them. I'm a black man. I don't mind you describe me as a black man as long as you don't use no derogatory term afterwards. Do you know what I mean?
Troy, do you know what? It's funny. I'm glad you said that, right? So when I say I hate the word BAME, I've said this before. Exactly what you said, Jay. My wife is mixed race. She's half Algerian, half Scottish. So she's Arabic. Okay. Not a bigger part. No, it's North African. Her family's background's Muslim. Okay. Now check this out. When I first came in, they said, "What would you like to call it?" So I said, "What would you call it?" And they said the BAME. And I asked them, "Why would you call it the BAME network?" And they were like, "Well, isn't that the category?" But it's not, is it? And look, do you know what? I don't judge. Troy, I don't judge because do you know what?
Yeah.
I know the people I'm having these conversations with, never had the conversation before, okay? But they're choosing to have the conversation with me, which I respect, okay?
Yeah.
And I said to them, what you just said, I wouldn't call my wife black, but she's mixed race. I wouldn't call an Asian man black. I wouldn't call an Eastern European or anyone black. So BAME puts everyone into this category, but it's not the case. Okay,
what they're trying to say about us, Bobby, they're trying to say that we're the smaller minority.
Yes.
Yeah? So black people representation, Asian, but when you class us all together, we're not a smaller minority.
No.
So treat us for who we are. Respect, and again, you've said something there, and I'm pleased you've said it because I don't say it enough. We have to appreciate that actually we're helping to educate people, by the way. So they're having this uncomfortable conversation. They're coming to us for guidance. There's at times when we have to accept that and actually go, do you know, I'm fine with you calling me if you want to tick a box, tick the box that says black. That's who I am. Don't tick a box that then puts me in with my brown colleagues and I don't even know who minority ethnic is. Who does it describe? Minority ethnic. I don't know who it is. So do you know what I mean, Bobby? So just call
Yeah.
me Troy, the black man. And if there's a box that you need to tick the one that says black. And as long as you don't use any language that then describes me as something, you know, the terminologies, etc., I'm
Yeah.
okay with that. And so when you talk about, and the reason why they use it in football or used it in football, because it helped with their very, very low percentages. So
Yeah.
when they talk about lack of black managers, when they talk about workforce, when they talk about representation, if they can put black, Asian, minority ethnic all together,
Together,
do you know what I
it
mean?
comes up.
All of a
Yep.
sudden, 8% goes up to 9.5%. Do you know what I mean? And then they want to sing about it. Oh, look, there's 9.5% of that lot. I'm not of that lot. And like I said, my colleagues, the people that I grow with, I never saw, didn't see color, but when I grew up, my eyes were wide open. My friends were, no matter what background, they were my friends and they were called by name. I understand as we get older, you know, people want to talk about statistics and stuff. I understand that, but don't formulate me as a stat that actually is belittling me
Yeah.
because you don't appreciate my experience. Sorry.
No, don't say sorry. Do not say sorry because, like I said to you, this podcast is a free zone, safety zone, and this is how I treat my network. And at work, I say the similar things, and I want to change it, and it will be changed. I just use it for now because, if I'm honest with you, Troy, I can't be bothered having that conversation just now because I want to concentrate on the restructure of training, restructure of recruitment, internal training for managers, team leaders. You know, if you look at my organization, most of the executives are all middle-aged white men. You know, even the females for equality and stuff, there's not many. You know, I haven't come up with a name yet, and I will change it. The reason I was talking about that is because you said something there. We are actually educating, and this is the point I made. I said to them, I was like, I'm going to have to get to tell you what it's like to be me. Then I'm also going to have to get an Asian woman, an Asian man, and this
Yeah.
tell you what it's like to be us because I'm not the same as them.
Yeah.
They're not the same as me, but yet we still get the same troubles,
We're all
same
unique.
problems.
Yeah, we're all unique, and that uniqueness, you have to understand that. And to understand it, you can't just say, well, Troy's experience is the same as, you know, his Asian colleague and stuff like that. And remember this, Bobby, what we had here in England was the chair of the former chair of the FA.
He's an idiot.
Still calling us coloured, still saying that Asian people, they prefer to work in the FA, prefer to work in the IT department, you know, talking about gay being a life choice. So the stereotype, that's why they class us as BAME, because it helps them get away with actually saying the uncomfortableness of people saying black. I was amazed. I remember doing a session with some young people, and you know, I said to them, describe me, you know, a bit of banter. They come out, yeah, you're the short, stocky one, you're bald, which is cool. I ain't got a problem with that. Then I said, describe the color of my skin. All the energy stopped. So come on, what would you class me as? And I never forget this young lad who was so nervous that said, caramel. I went, what? He went, caramel. Yeah, caramel. He felt it was safe to call me caramel and not call me black. Now, for me, I'm really pleased he did, because it then helped with the education. It then helped to eliminate some of the fear. Never fear about describing someone as by the color of their skin with the correct terminology. Never fear the openness in having a conversation and then saying, Troy, is that okay? Is that, because that's where we learn.
Yeah.
That's where we understand each other. And that's where, in you asking me that question, means that you will then appreciate what I do like. It's when, like you said, that terminology is just bestowed on us. Bam, go on. That's a lot of you. Go on. For me, and the FA describe it as everything other than white.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm saying that's elitist, that's privilege, that's we're not good enough to be amongst. Do you know what I mean? So it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable.
Yeah. No.
And I'm pleased.
I agree with you
Yeah.
because for me, even when I talk about it, and like I always say, anytime I introduce myself to someone within my organization, and I'm like, yeah, I'm the leader, and I thought I hate this word, and I always have to explain why I hate the word, and I always get asked a question, and they said, "What would you call it instead?" And I said to them, "I don't know." And then I thought to them, "Why do I have to label it?"
Yeah, yeah,
This
yeah,
is what I always think. Troy, why do we have to label things? Like, because when you were
yeah,
saying you were growing up here, we don't see color. You just see David, Fiona,
yeah.
Adiola. You know, shout out to Tion Wayne and but
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 it's
you know what I'm
true.
saying?
It's true. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true.
And then why is it when we grow up, you know, obviously, like, listen, I grew up in Scotland. Okay, so the boys I grew up with were white.
Mm,
Okay, let's have it right.
mm,
They were white.
mm,
Okay,
mm.
and they were very quick to, let's just say, adjust the way they spoke. Because in Scotland, there's a dirty word called dirty phrase says you are so black, which means
Okay.
you're dirty
Yeah,
in Scotland. And it was
yeah.
only 3 weeks ago that my wife and I had our son at this like adventure park, and this white woman went to her daughter, "You're so black. Look at the state of you." And then my wife barked at her, and she just says, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it like that." Then I turned around and said, "Well, you did because you said it." And I said to her, I was like,
You
"The
see me
problem
with my
is here."
mouth open, innit? You
Yeah,
see
yeah,
me
yeah,
with my mouth
yeah.
open.
So I said to her, I was like, "You do know you're telling your daughter that my color of skin, my wife that's mixed race, and our son that's mixed race, were dirty people." And she was all apologetic. I wasn't conscious. I was like, "No, but you are conscious. See, unconscious bias and stuff." I say it's bullshit because you are conscious of it. So you basically said to your daughter, because she was dirty, you're black. Now that's the color of my skin color. And she just kept shushing me, saying, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry." She didn't want to make a big thing. I was like, "No, people need to know aware that you're teaching your children
Exactly.
casual
Exactly.
racism." And then
Exactly.
she walked off. And then I said to my wife, I said, "This is why I have to keep talking. This is
Yeah.
why I have to keep going to places." And there's no excuse for racism as an adult. You can say as a child, but I think there's no excuse for racism at all because
Do you know
when you
what
go
I
to
say?
school, go on, Troy.
No, no, no. Go on. I cut across you.
No,
Go on,
no.
Bobby.
The way I see it is this year, the whole point of growing up is that you learn stuff. Now, the word learn in your
Mm,
household, you're being taught
mm,
to
mm,
be racist. We know what
mm.
they say: the P word, the C word, the M word, the darky. Do you know what I mean? But you're taught that. You're it's
Exactly.
not you're not born with it. And I think to
Exactly.
myself, if you're an adult, whether you're a responsible human being, a competent human being, you know the rights and wrong. She automatically knew what I was talking about. Yet she still didn't see no problem using it. And for me, I don't find it alarming because I'm like, I'm used to this. So every time I hear it now, I bark at them and say, "Why did you say that?" So you do know what that means, right? And that little education thing embarrasses them
Yeah.
because they know
Yeah.
they can't do it.
But you know what, as well, and I always say this: a beautiful thing is when you are born and when you're so young, you take in so much, right? But you have this kind of freedom about you that means that you kind of just continue to grow and learn, and you're not sanitized by society.
Mm,
The older you get, all of a sudden we become sanitized by particular elements of society. And obviously, learning indoors is one of those, the
yep.
biggest educational piece. What you see on the TV, what language, certain TV programs, what language you're exposed to, what you're exposed to just being a human in that household, whether your parents smoke at home. So I'm taking it out of the racial stuff,
Yeah,
whether
yeah,
your
yeah.
parents smoke at home or whether, one of them actually goes outside because they don't want the children to inhale the smoke and things like that, whether they swear at home, the way they describe people on their TV screen, when, I don't know, and I'm just going to say parent, I'm not going to say mum or dad gets angry because their favorite football team has just conceded the goal and who's made the
Yeah.
mistake. You're going to embrace all of that language. Then you go into society, and your next part of society is the educational system. Now, this is something I'm speaking about a lot, Bobby, and I'm sure you do as well. How much do our young people learn about black people in school? How much do they learn, or what do they learn?
Zero.
We have Black History Month, so yeah, let's make black people the focus. But let's talk about slavery. Let's talk about the negative nature. Let's talk about where black people were dehumanized, belittled, and spoken about with all this derogatory language. No, how about we talk about the successes? How about we talk about people that have achieved? How about we help young people aspire to be? Or how about we even let those people that have lived in this closed environment I didn't know black people could succeed in life. And this is something that I deliver in terms of education. The amount of players that tell me, I don't know, never learned anything about black history in school. Or, yeah, we learned about slavery, and what used to, or we learned about Martin Luther King, which ended up with Martin Luther King being murdered, by the way.
Yeah,
so all of a sudden our history
by being
balances.
peaceful, Troy, as well.
yeah, exactly. But you get what I mean. But
Yeah,
all of a sudden, the education is driven by people who actually don't understand it. Because at primary school, I used to work in primary school. I know that my primary school in London, by the way, one of the biggest multicultural cities you could ever wish to find. But look for a black man that educates in primary school. Geez, they're few and far between. Few and far between.
And that's
so how do you identify?
Yeah. The way I identify it for me, my organization is this, Troy. And, I've not made any... I opt to make people uncomfortable. I ask the question. I'm very happy that I started my campaign with the chief executive of my organization, done a podcast with him that the whole employers, everyone from our organization watched. I went to the leader of the councillor. I speak to councillors on change daily. I speak to Labour. I speak to SNP. I even speak to the Scottish Government, of how I'm going to change. I'm putting these important people in positions where they have to have the conversation, but I do it in a manner, Troy, where I just ask them questions and say, what do you think of this? Do you think that's right? Imagine if that happened to your daughter or your son. And then, do you know what, actually? That happens to me every day. And it's little stuff like you make it intimate. And I have this phrase, you can steal it if you want. If we change their minds, we change their attitudes. And that's my slogan, my gimmick for where I work. And, I've just been appointed the diversity ambassador for a football sports club that have both rugby, cricket, and football teams from grassroots to senior, first team. And, my aim is to do what you're doing, to go ahead and educate and teach equality, diversity, and that every human being is equal. And within my organization, I've had conversations where I'll tell you this story. I was speaking to a government party. I won't tell you who. And I asked them, I said to them, what do you do for the Black and Asians in the community in Edinburgh? And they all looked at me. I said, well, we're meeting with you and we're trying to get an understanding. I said, okay, so are you aware of the communities in Edinburgh? And they said, well, not as much really, no. So I said to them, okay, let me break it down for you. You go home, you don't want to cook. What's your first thought of takeaway? Some said Thai, some said Chinese, some said Pakistan, some said Indian, some said Afro, Caribbean. And I said to them, I was like, okay, how do you speak to these people when you order your food? And the amount of people that looked at me, they're like, where is he going with this? So I said to them, because it's your food that they're going to cook, you're going to be nice, elegant, speak clearly, and thank them for taking your order. Okay? Especially after you've paid. Because you're speaking to them because they're actually dealing with your food. Now, let me take you on to another trip. Who do you think cooks these foods in this city? The Pakistan man will cook the Pakistan foods. The Chinese man will cook the Chinese foods. Afro-Caribbean, and so on and so on. And they all just looked at me like, oh, I'm like, see, you are aware of these communities. You just don't find them relevant.
It serves you. Yeah.
It's not relevant, And they all said to me, wow, I haven't seen it like that. And I said to them, I was like, now try and keep this vision and energy throughout every single thing in society. And go to these communities, not just order food from them, talk to them. And then, they God bless them. I meet with them once a month, and we're still trying to make things change legislation, which we are. I'm
Okay.
happy to say that when it goes to committee, I'm actually changing way things are happening. You know, just
Brilliant.
this. Listen, this young black boy that grew up in Southwark
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Edinburgh, I'm trying to make change, and I just think, yeah, my vision, Troy, is not for me now, is for my son's generation
Children
when he's
and our
growing up.
children's children. Yeah.
Yeah, because people say to me like, "Oh, are you being serious?" I said to them, "There's going to be another Bobby that comes up that wants to do what I do." You know, there's another Abby girl, Asian woman, whatever that's going to come up, and I want them to be able to come to my organization. Society is a different story, but my organization, to know that they will be treated equally, fairly, respected, and accepted.
You know what?
Society, I'm working on that one.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. I kind of say that, you know, for the industry that I work in and the people I try and influence, I think we've lost another generation.
Yeah.
You know, we've kind of worked through a generation that were empowered for change, but the door kept being shut in their faces, kept
Mhm.
being shut. And absolutely, like you've said, now it's now, you know, and obviously my children are you know, middle 20s upwards, and it's now the grandchildren as well. So my children are part of the movement that hopefully is going to be the change. And I don't want my grandchildren to have the same battles and fights that we're having now.
100%.
Because if you want to talk about that measure of success again, if my grandchildren are having to talk in the same language that I'm having to challenge the establishments, then we've achieved nothing. If my grandchildren can be accepted for who they are, regardless of the color of our skin, then I would say that, boy, we're making change. And I say this on a mass level. I don't say this on an, you know, let's get one in, let's get another one in.
Yeah.
When we move that one out, let's get one more in. I say this on a mass level, where actually when we talk about representation, we're talking about representation, not in ones and twos, but in
Mm-hmm.
fives, in eights, in tens. And I always think that there's this fear of, they're coming to take our jobs. They're coming to tell us what we should be doing. And until that fear can be eliminated and you just respect because we can add value to any listen, I would always say this, Bobby, and you've been a player, so we're all right when we're the entertainers, aren't we? We're all right
100%.
when we're on the football pitch. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, you'll pay your money to watch us, cheer us, have a go at us, but we're all right when we're the entertainers. But we can be the brains as well. It's just that the way that we're spoken about, whilst we're entertaining, often doesn't reflect into that transition out of the game. Often, you know, is the principle of power and pace, no intelligence, very athletic, physically strong, but no, we're better than that, you know. And it's amazing that we're still having to talk about this in this space, in this day and age. But I tell you now, we're in a very, very fractious society at the moment, where, remember, we've been locked down. Sorry, something maybe jumped there. We've been locked down for the past 14 months now.
Mm-hmm.
Things ain't changed. Things are going to get worse when we go back out into the real world. You've only got to experience what's happening on social media at the moment to realize that. And I just hope that this change that we want to see happens quicker than I kind
God
of
willing.
imagining at the moment. Yeah, God willing, you're
God
right.
willing.
Sorry, I just need to.
No, don't be so. Don't be so. God
That's it.
willing,
Cool.
because
Yeah,
you know, there's so many. You know, I don't know if you've heard of the Beautiful Game podcast.
yeah, I know the
Um,
lads very, very well.
Dedge,
Yeah,
I speak with them a bit, and you know, Dedge, Dot, Budge, great
top
guys, and
guys, top guys.
um, I thank God for them all the time, because you know what they're doing is amazing, creating paths for people like myself, and you know, we had a chat. It was off air, and look, Dot won't mind me saying this. Dot was just like, you know, you need to believe in yourself, and he was like, create your own platform. You know, if you are talented, it's gonna work. It's gonna happen. Someone's gonna watch you and think yes. But he was like, you don't need, for example, Sky Sports. don't need BBC. You don't need BT. We don't have to. We're always channeled to think, I need to go there to be successful. I need to go
You
there
know,
to be successful.
I think that's the same thing that I told them. But you know what? It was what the last year has done for me. Yes, there's been absolutely massive challenges. We've been discussing Black Lives Matter and the importance of us being our authentic self and people recognizing that. But what I've seen in this space where we've been locked down is how creative we knew it anyway, but they've taken it to our people have taken it to the next level, particularly in and around media, creating their own platforms, creating their own content, reaching out to people who you probably deem, oh, I'm not sure if I can get that person. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
absolutely creating their own stuff and being good at it. And now having those big corporate organizations trying to reach out to them, say, oh, we want you to do that for us as well. Do you know what I mean? Can you come for us and create your own content is the most powerful thing. And if you do it well and if you do it consistent, there's always someone watching, by the way.
So we've got a
Always someone
question
watching.
here from my friend Bocce. He's actually watching all the way from Sydney in Australia.
Wow.
Yeah,
How you doing? What's his name?
Bocce.
Okay. How you doing? You okay? Brilliant. Is that the question? What? How's the vibes with Maccabee?
Yeah.
Let me tell. That guy's honestly. I don't know if you noticed, Bobby, but I went to meet him up in the Midlands, yeah, and I knew that he created this song, and he created the song 25 years ago. Salute the Black football youth, yeah. And I don't want to sing it because I'll embarrass myself, but it talks about, long time Black people have been getting abused, the Black players. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he created the song on the back of the famous Eric Cantona incident at Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
And it gave him, as he says, and that's why it says the vibes for the song. And like this guy, honestly, he's amazing. The foresight to create a song then about the experiences of young Black people.
Yeah.
And he said, I threw it on the B-side because I didn't think it would get much pickup. And when he sung it live in front of me, a cappella, and like we're all like me and my cameraman, we were just you know what I mean?
Come on.
Just proper lovely guy who's doing so much now. And I didn't even really know the history of him, but obviously he's a big reggae artist and someone who, like, we follow each other now. We message each other every so often. We want the song to land in football.
Oh, brilliant.
And I don't know why you would not put that on your playlist in football, because he's talking about the things from 26, 25, 26 years ago that are still so relevant to this day and age. And I popped it on my social media platforms again. This is about 2 years ago. I went to meet him. I took him on to Talk Sport radio station, and then he'd done a little video with him, and I popped it on my platform again about 6 weeks ago. And again, it started to drive, and everyone was like, yeah, this is wicked. But I'm saying football needs to embrace this. Do you know what I mean? It's a message for our young people. And it's a really important and powerful message as well. But yeah, to answer that question, he's proper vibes, man. He's like just saying things as they are, and just talks so well about history and the importance of us as Black people, and to value and respect ourselves, because of all the good things that we do. And sometimes because we're fighting a battle, we're fighting a fight. Oh, I know I am anyway.
No, we are.
We never see the good in each other. Do you know what I mean? We never see the good that we do, because the negative always overrides. We always think we're doing something good, and then the following day something negative comes along, and you forget the good things that we do. And I just think to myself, I'm going to sit down one day, maybe when I'm gone from this game, and realize the impact that I had. Realize what I've done for people, or realized how I've enabled people to speak in this space where it wasn't traditional for Black people to speak up, because we were
100%.
always judged, and I think there's a case now where we've got to start doing that more and more and appreciating our contributions. When I say appreciate, I think we always appreciate it, but sometimes we let everything else override the contribution.
Yeah, we never stay. Let's just keep the positivity is contagious. Keep it going. Appreciate what you've done and stay positive. Like, this is why I always, anytime I do a show like this, I always plug Maiwa, Fuad, Coach Accounts from Stoppers Time TV, Anita from Football Life with Neats. She says hi, by the way, actually.
Anita,
I was
my
on the phone
girl.
to her. Yeah, she was actually going to try and come on, but she was doing her hair. So, yeah.
More important things.
Yeah. Obviously, the Beautiful Game podcast. And
Yeah.
you know what? Also, I've also got to give a shout out to my friend Bocce from Football Capital. You know, he's from Macedonian, but he's an Aussie, and he's going through the same battle. He has the same kind of fights and the same education he has to give out, and you know he's got a young family as well. So even on the other side of the world,
Yeah,
you know, we're still having this kind of fight and having to have this kind of conversation. Troy, to a few lighter topics.
Come on. It's always good to have lighter topics.
Obviously, football. We love football. You love football. Okay. What's your thoughts on obviously what team do you support? Because I know obviously your son plays for Palace, but
So
do you support the club he plays, or
well, obviously, look, we're a Tottenham family, and obviously when he represented Spurs and was at Spurs for so long, it was an amazing thing to see. You know, when you talk about dreams come true. I never made it in the game, so to see my son put on the white shirt, and play for the club that we all supported, and you know, and make an England debut on the back of those was just unbelievable. You know, so Tottenham obviously is my team, but there's no allegiance when it comes to, you know, he moved to Newcastle. I was fully invested. We travel everywhere as a family, by the way, so fully invested in Newcastle for the 6 months that he was there, and he's been at Crystal Palace now for 4.5 years. So you know, a reporter said to me, "Oh, you've got conflicts of interest, didn't you?" The first time he played Tottenham, I went, "No, there's no conflict of interest. That's my son. That's my blood." So
Thank
you know, when you put it in those terms, of course I want Crystal Palace to win, and of course I want him to score. Tottenham doesn't even come into the equation. Do you know what I mean? So, and they couldn't really understand it. And I remember when he scored against Spurs in the FA Cup, and he didn't celebrate, because let's be serious, he was in the Tottenham environment for 13 years.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of fans were giving him stick. And he just said, and he said it so much better than me, because I would have said so much other things, you know what I mean? But he said, you know, I showed respect to the club that made me 13 years, you know, boy to man. And so my first goal ever against them was a respect, because they helped me to get into this place. And he absolutely smashed this Tottenham fan who was giving it, "Oh, you can't even celebrate," and this, that, and the other. And no matter where you go on to, where you were made, where you were given your first opportunity, where you kind of your growth expanded, is in the academy structure.
100%.
You know, and he came out at 17 and went on loan to Yeovil Town Football Club. I don't even know where Yeovil was in the country, let alone as a football club. Do you know what I mean?
Can't tell you.
It's just past Stonehenge. I'll tell you that now. It's just past Stonehenge. But so let's be serious. I've had to embrace so many other clubs because he went on 9 loans.
Yeah.
But every single one of those, do you know, when you finally make your home club debut, when he did for Spurs, and when you finally represent your country in your wildest dreams, you remember all those experiences. You remember playing at Chigwell and the Spurs, you know, Spurs versus Birmingham under 18s. You remember his first goal as a 9-year-old for Spurs, you know, in the kit that was too big for him, but you know, he played in it. Everything culminates in those moments and continues to, as he's still a professional player in the Premier League. So some of the criticism that you'll always get as a player, you will know this, Bobby, there's going to be so many out there that don't rate you. I don't give a damn, because most of them will be jumping at just for one. I made 0 appearances. If I could have stepped on a pitch once to hear whether the fans were booing me, celebrate, I just wanted to experience it once.
Yeah.
And I never did it. Do you know what I mean? But he's done it, and he's still playing at the highest level, and he's played in, you know, World Cup qualifiers and helped his country qualify for the World Cup, and has been part of the Premier League.
Yeah. No, listen.
You know?
As in Scotland, we say the left foot's a wand. So that's the biggest compliment I'll give him. And do you know what, Luke? I now take my son to football, and you know, he's in a little academy. And like
How does
he's
that feel?
free.
If you don't mind me asking, how does that feel?
Oh, do you know what? Do you know what? It's. Do you know what? I think what people forget, like you still think as a dad, a young dad that was playing football before he was born, you still feel like Peter Pan. You know, like you
Yeah,
get the boots, you go training, you're buzzing,
yeah,
and then obviously you get married, you have a child, and I have a son. Now it's like I'm redoing all of this,
yeah,
but I'm not on the pitch.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like every kick he takes, every step he takes,
It's
I'm
amazing,
like,
isn't it?
yeah. And you know, he kicks the ball, he can throw the ball, he can kick the ball like 20 yards, he does all the drills, jumping. And then after 30, 35 minutes, he goes back to being a 3
That's
year
it.
old.
Yeah, yeah. But you know what? I would always say to you, Bobby, enjoy those moments.
Oh,
Like
definitely.
capture them, keep them. I don't want to get emotional now, but
Mm.
those are the things that even now I will play DVDs of when Andros was in Tottenham's academy, just to witness. I always talk about this freedom that you play with when you're younger anyway. So to compare it to obviously being a professional footballer,
Mm-hmm.
when the formations and all that have the real structure and all that come into play. And it's great to see, you kind of compare it to what he does now, but it's great to visualize and see. But there's never a moment where you're not enjoying it, although it's a nervous enjoyment, particularly when there's 3 points at stake. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
But yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful,
And do you know?
beautiful thing.
Do you know another thing, Troy? Is like I stand there. I'm the only black dad there. Okay, and but you know, my dad never came to watch me play football. My
Same
dad
here.
would,
Yeah,
you know, he never came to watch me play football. You could say it wasn't safe. Yes, it wasn't safe, but he didn't go. And there's a culture, and I'm
yeah,
not going to say all black dads. No, there's a culture where in our community, in our family, support isn't giving a lecture or telling them
yeah,
what they should become. The support is actually just physically just being there,
yeah,
literally.
yeah,
And
yeah.
as much as I want to be like, Bobby, come on, come on, I shut up because I'm just like, there's
You
times I'm
have
like,
to.
right, Bobby, you're not a lion, you're playing football, you're going on all fours. And then I think and then my wife came with me a couple of days ago. She just turned around and said, she just went, stop imagining
Yeah,
stuff. Just let
yeah.
him
Just
do it.
let
And I
him.
was
Yeah,
like, so I was like, yeah, I know, I know. She's like, no. She's like, remember,
yeah.
you're not
Perfect.
your dad. You know, you're not going to do what he done. You know, he gave me. You can imagine. You know, I had to like make sure I'd scored. You know, make sure I'd hit the ball certain height. You know, score so many goals. I'd tell my dad, I scored 5 goals today. Why couldn't you score 6? Do you know what I mean? do you know what I mean? But like, you know, or like we went for a stage where the times he did come and watch, he'd tell me every bad thing I'd done. And
Yeah,
that's just the way he was with his father. And I get that. That's the way he made listen, he done a good job with me, you know, wherever he is in this world, I couldn't tell you, but you know, I hope he's healthy and whatever.
same here. Yeah,
But for
same here.
me, with Bobby Jr., believe it or not, my wife allowed me to call him that. I'm literally just allowing him to blossom because, man, I'm there. He can see his dad's there. You know,
Exactly,
he's fine.
exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
and I never had that. Troy, and God,
Mm,
Troy, I'm gonna cry, man. But like, I'm taking my son
mm.
to football. You know, and I know my dad never took me to the park. My dad never done anything like that with me, and I'm doing
But
this with my son. And
let,
oh, it's the best feeling in the world, Troy. I
let
swear
me
to
tell you
God, man.
something. This is
Oh God.
where this is where our journeys are very similar. So a footballer was the only thing that I ever wanted to be.
Mm.
I had no other career aspirations apart from walking on the green bays as a professional footballer. My parents were not part of my journey as that,
Mhm.
So one of the big things would have been,
Is it because of the black community, Troy?
well,
Is it
put it
because
this way.
we're seen to be doctors, lawyers?
No, well, no. I mean, in my case, no. My dad left home very early. Yeah, so I have no real recollection of my father being a part of my young life. I
Okay.
remember, and this is what I'll say to you, Bobby, and this is why your emotion is incredible because sometimes we don't home in on this enough. I remember the one day my dad took me to the park with my brother, just one day. I remember we played cricket from not even football, cricket from mid afternoon to mid evening. And it's the only experience I remember of engaging with my father in sport.
Crazy.
When I was on my footballing journey, I didn't think I needed anyone, Bobby. I didn't think that, I'm on the pitch. Pitch
Yeah.
was my
Doing your
sanctuary. It's my
thing.
safe zone. I'm doing my thing. I don't need a dad to almost say the things that you were saying there. But it wasn't till later when I got released and when I didn't have no one to share those experiences with of what do I do next? Who do I talk to?
Yeah.
That I realized that I could have done with my family being around. And that whole thing, like you're saying, my boys all love football. And like that thing of sharing that emotion, sharing that, because you see yourself in them, don't you? So I'm
Oh, man.
now your son, my grandson is probably, it shows you my age, by the way, is 18 months. So he literally started going football 2 weeks ago to
Oh,
a proper
wow.
like football thing. And what it was is that the first week, you know what it's like, he just cried because he, you know what I mean? Second week, he got the ball and threw the ball everywhere. But on Monday, he was kicking the ball a little bit in the garden. I'm like, all right, he's starting to, do you know what I mean, Bobby? So that
Yeah,
whole,
yeah.
and he kicked it, and then he went back to his car and he was on his car. But every now and again, he'd get off and he'd kick the ball. So that emotion, it's very hard to describe that feeling, isn't it? Very, very hard to describe
100%.
that
100%.
overwhelming. And that's why I can see how much of a family man you are and what it means to you. Do you know what I mean? I would urge any parent, make sure you're involved in your children's development, whatever it is, whatever route they want to go down. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't miss those moments, man, because those moments you can't recall them. You can't get them back. And even if you have
100%.
more children, you have that experience with your child, but you missed out on your elder. Never ever miss out on those experiences, man. I don't think I was a young parent. I don't think I appreciated enough growing up how much we needed to be involved in our children's lives, and because maybe my dad wasn't around and my mum did everything and so
Yeah.
couldn't be around my football, I didn't feel the value of it and only realized it later on. So I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying those tears are such beautiful tears for me, man,
Oh,
because
like,
it's something that we I don't know if we appreciate it enough.
and do you know what? Like, God bless you, Troy, because we don't. And like, I remember when my wife, we took Bobby to the park, and I start crying, and she's like, "What's wrong?" And I said, "My dad never. I never got taken to the
Never
park. I've
done it.
never done
Yeah,
this to the
yeah,
beach, to all these
yeah.
things that was just like
Never.
literally, Troy. I played football. I went to school, got picked up from Rangers or any of the club that I played for. Went to football, came back, done my homework on the school bus or
In the
the
car.
coach
Yeah,
bar in
yeah,
the
yeah,
car,
yeah,
and I went to bed. If I hadn't
yeah,
ate, there was no. It was no like, did you have fun? Did you have a good
yeah.
time? There was no communication. It was just like I was at
Resonates so
football. That
much,
was
Bobby, I
it.
tell you.
And,
Resonates
like
so much.
and like Mayo, right? Oh, Mayo has got a son as well, and like
Yeah,
I'll send the messages like, bro, just enjoy it, record it
yeah.
if you can, because I'm
Record
telling
it.
you.
Record it.
Trust me, trust me. On that, listen.
Yeah,
On that note, Troy. I just want to thank you for this emotional and amazing time with you. Like,
absolute
I love
pleasure.
it when you speak. I'm on your social media so much. Troy, I've just realized that I actually don't have you on my personal one because Bits and Bobs, like I said to you,
Okay.
so I've just followed you off my personal one, and that's where you'll be
On
able to
what?
see
On what one?
Instagram.
Instagram. Instagram,
Yeah,
yeah.
it should just come up. It should have just came up now.
I've been part
I've
of this
sent you-
boycott, so I haven't been on for so long. But yeah,
No,
I can
don't worry,
see
don't
that you
worry.
are. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just
Yeah, got
message
it.
you
Got
privately,
you.
say Bobby, yeah. And
Yeah.
yeah, like, like I watch everything you do. I follow you religiously on LinkedIn, like to see where you're going, what you're doing next and stuff. For the people watching, the last thing I'd like to Keanu. Big up to Keanu.
Ah, Keanu, my guy. My
This
guy.
is the funny thing, Troy. Like so many people, so I've been on YouTube since November.
Yeah.
And I used YouTube as an escapism because I couldn't play football
Yeah.
because of the coronavirus and stuff, And I've came into YouTube and I've met so many people, Anita,
Yeah.
Mayo, Keanu, and I'm thinking, raw, like my people, man, we're doing really well. We're going.
This is
This
what
is
I'm
the
saying to you, Bobby.
generation.
Even down to probably 2 or 3 years ago, the community weren't on there. But
Mm,
now the community realizes, the young people, like I said, I could never have done it. Listen, I'm long past, I'm over the hill now. Once Keanu start calling me uncle, that's it. I'm over the hill. Do you know what I mean? But what I'm saying is, we never had those opportunities or were allowed the space to be creative. We always had to conform.
yes.
What our young people, what you guys are doing now is showing me that no longer do we, no, we've got that creative mindset, that creative attitude. Watch this, and we'll run with it. And for
Yeah.
me, that's the first part of lockdown. I've got to be honest. And Keanu's been on our little pod thing. That's
Hmm.
what kept me going, because to see so many of our young people grow in strength was just unbelievable,
Yep.
unbelievable. And the opportunities that they're getting now, and the way that they're jumping all over them as well. So the growth of, what's happened recently, and how people have just grabbed this space with two hands. And like you said, they don't need Sky Sports in their you know what I mean, on their bracket, or they don't need BT Sport, you know what I mean, for people to watch their content.
Yeah.
And that for me is unbelievable. Sorry, I
And
jumped in as you were
for
going to
that,
ask me a question,
no,
but
no, no, for that closing speech. This is why I thank you. I thank you because, as I said off air, I thank you. I thank Marvin. I thank the Beautiful Game podcast. I thank Mayo, Anita, Keanu, because even JD on Sky Sport. I thank people like that because I'm watching these things, seeing these things, and thinking I'm seeing a representation. I'm seeing that.
yeah,
Oh yeah, actually, I can do that. I can
yeah.
watch that. And to all the everyone that's striving to be great, and I advise and I encourage to watch Uncle Troy. I encourage you to watch all people, your peers, your people, what they're doing, learn, and just try and be better. Just
But you
always
know
try to
what,
be
Bobby?
better.
I would also say, not just watch, reach out,
Yes.
reach out as well. Because how did we stumble across each other? You reached out to me. May have taken me a little while to get back to you, but at the moment, this space is so. There's times when I don't look in my DMs or whatever it may be, because you can imagine what some of it is
Yeah.
like. You know what I
100%.
mean?
100%.
But there's times when I just feel, but I'm missing so many good people. I miss so, there's people that said, I know you're never going to see this, but they still write to me. And
Yeah.
I'm not no big, I am. I'm just, like I said, I'm just here to hopefully provide understanding in what I've said today, but also opportunity. And Keanu would know that. And a lot of the people that you've mentioned, is to provide them with an opportunity or platforms to be able to go and express themselves. And if I can come on their platform and it enables them to get 2 more followers, I'm not talking about thousands and that, because you're never going to get thousands listening to me, but enable
Says
them to
who?
get 2 more followers, then for
Says
me,
who?
that's job done. No, I'm just, you know what I mean? Listen, I've got to be honest with you, Bobby, and the way I see it, I'm an ordinary guy that has found his environment, his space, yeah, and is willing to take on anybody in that space. I know my stuff when it comes to racism and discrimination in football, because I've
Yeah.
had to experience it for 40 years.
Hmm.
And what I do is I make sure I know inside the game, you know what I mean when I say
Yeah.
inside,
Yeah.
and outside the game as well. So that actually when I talk, and this is one of the things that happened to me, if you don't mind me just saying this,
No, please go ahead,
when I
please.
spoke on the Anton Ferdinand documentary back
Hmm.
in November, I spoke because I knew what I was speaking about. I spoke because I knew what happened to Anton 9 years ago. I knew what we did. I knew what we didn't do, but also knew what the football industry didn't do in protecting Anton. And that is mirrored now 9 years later. So when I said football played lip service, I meant it, because it is the lip service that the game continues to pay. And I think more people realize that now in 2021.
Hmm.
The fact that the FA then come for me and attack me actually shows that I obviously touched a nerve, didn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But they
Yeah.
came and publicly attacked me. And I've got to be honest, it was a low moment. It was a moment where I thought, I don't need to do this no more. But actually, when you can talk in this space and be authentic and real, it's the
Hmm.
thing that people actually don't really like too much, because you're exposing certain things in the game. So I'm proud of what I do. I don't probably say it to myself enough, but I'm also proud of everything else and all the good people around me and the energy that you as young people create to enable us to continue to do what we do at the highest level, whilst you guys, you know, are coming in and are infiltrating, not even lower level, middle level. You're there, you're working in a space and you're creating energy that keeps us going as well. So just as much as you said thank you to me, I want to say thank you to you and all the other aspiring, inspirational young people that continue to make me feel young as well, if you don't mind me saying.
Oh, listen, God bless, God bless. We do have one little thing, Troy. We have Mac One here who's saying that he's not here to attack you. He doesn't think it's working with Kick Out and thinks it's outdated. He says we are way behind the LGBT. Look emoji. That tells you we need to do way more. Please DM me on this. Mac, I'm not going to speak for Troy, but I mean, he is very approachable. If you do drop him a DM on Twitter or Instagram, I'm sure he's happy to talk to you.
He missed the early bit, didn't he? Where I said,
I was going to say.
So he missed the earlier bit where I probably covered a lot of what he's asked me there. But yeah, DM me and let's continue the conversation for sure.
100%. And Mac, yeah, please, if you can go watch it back. Uncle Troy does actually cover quite a lot. My last thing to say, your initial thoughts when you heard my accent and I said I lived in Scotland.
My initial thoughts, brave.
Thank you.
I've got to be honest, brave.
Yeah.
I've never been to Scotland, but I remember going to Ireland, and I don't want to be disrespectful here, but I remember going to Ireland, Belfast. Andrews was playing for England under 17s, and we had to travel. I was shitting myself because I didn't know what reaction I was going to get, you know. And as black people, we always have to scope out where we're traveling first, don't we? We don't just get in a car, travel, and whatever. So when I heard when you said Scotland, I was like, oh, brave. But then when I heard the accent as well, so when you dropped me that voice note and I heard the accent, I was like, nah, you're proper from Scotland, aren't you? You know, because you kind of think, right, okay, he's residing there. Do you know what I mean? He's just like plotting up there. But when I heard the accent as well, I must admit, and I'll be honest, because I was like, ooh, I was taken aback a little bit. Do you know what I mean? I was taken aback a little bit because we always, you know, when we talk, we always think of our roots first, don't we? We
100%.
always think of our roots first,
100%.
you know. But hearing that was like, I was like, okay, it took me back a little bit. But I got to be honest, those moments are like brief moments, and then you kind of go into, like I said, when you kept talking about your career, and I was like, okay, now I'm putting two and two together. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, the first thing was ooh, okay.
Yeah, do you know what's funny? Because the last thing I'll share is that when I was playing football, like you talked about Belfast there, I went to Glasgow around 1998, 1999. Rangers were on top. So being black, Cockney accent, and a Catholic wasn't the most popular categories. And I was all three. And I'll never forget one of my coaches saying, coaches put me to the side and he said, you would be wise to pick up the accent because if you sound like them,
you become accepted.
You'll become accepted. And I was just like, because I strongly, listen, Troy, I would still say like, do you know what I mean? Like I grew up in Waterloo, Southwark. Do you know what I mean? So like, my mum used to take me to Peckham Market, so you can imagine like, and I'm Nigerian, so you understand the culture. So like, it's just like the Jamaican one. So like, what? Pick up the accent. You're dumb. Like, but then, do you know what? Yeah,
you realize.
I realized I had to be street smart. You know, there were certain locations I wouldn't walk because of obviously the way I am, and there were certain places I would walk. But I know if I always had my tracksuit on, I wouldn't be touched. And it's a lot of naive because like when they hear you, they forget about this. When they hear me, they forget about this. And it's funny. I always found it strange. And I always find it's funny when people talk to me on the phone at work before Corona. And then when they meet me, there's always
the look they give. Yeah.
Because obviously Bobby is a British name, isn't it?
Listen to what you're saying there, and listen to. It's like so. The experience I had from going to Belfast was a really positive experience, by the way. But I had to stay in a hotel. I slept with one eye open, just in
Mm.
case someone, saw me enter the hotel and thought, "What's he doing there?"
Yeah,
You
yeah, yeah.
know, you know. My partner's Greek, so she would come across, if you don't hear her talk, as English. You see,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean. You're looking at her as English, but I identify as black, and I'm in a country. The first thing I saw was a burnt out police van, burnt out. So we've come off the plane, we're going to the hotel, and I've seen a burnt out police van. I'm thinking to myself, "Oh my God, what am I doing here?" But you know what? It was a beautiful experience. It
Mm.
was and so I'm not saying that I wouldn't hesitate. I wouldn't hesitate going. There'd still be something in the back of my mind. But I've always wanted to go to Scotland. I'm a big Celtic fan. Sorry, I'm a big
Okay.
Celtic. Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay. Okay. No,
In my
listen,
house,
hey, listen, no problems.
you're either green or blue. In London, but you're either green or blue. Do you know
Mm.
what I mean? So Celtic has always been like I've always loved Celtic. Always loved Celtic.
Well, do you
But
know what? Do you know what, Uncle Troy? When you come to Scotland, if you're ever in Scotland, I shall entertain you for that weekend. Please, I would like
brilliant,
you to come and eat dinner with my family, and if possible, we
amazing.
shall go to a game or we shall watch a game. Literally, that would be
The Old
beautiful.
Firm derby is the thing that I'd love to go to when there's fans there, obviously. But yeah,
Well, you obviously
I'd
don't want
take
to
it.
talk about the last one, but yeah.
No, no, no. Well, just we did this podcast in 2019, yeah. So that just to make sure that Celtic was still winning. You know what I mean? I'm not even
Look,
going to talk about Sunday, but see
yeah,
my
yeah.
boy JD scoring that fourth goal there. See, so yeah, I'll give him props. I'll give him props for that. I'll give him
Oh,
props.
listen, thank you so much. This has been fantastic. Literally been fantastic. Guys, everyone,
Absolute
thank
pleasure.
you so much for watching and sharing this moment with me and Troy. Please make sure you smash a like and subscribe if you're new. And yeah, peace and love to you all. Thank you for watching. Troy, thank you again so much.
Absolute pleasure, Bobby.